Neil Parish joins me now, who resigned as a Tory MP after he was caught watching porn on his phone in the House of Commons. Neil, I'm sure you don't like to be reminded of that too much, but what was it like when the kind of drip came out, and what was your approach to handling that?
Yes, Patrick, it's interesting because there were sort of 3 or 4 days of intense sort of pressure from the paparazzi, mainly all the tabloids trying to find other issues for me. They unfortunately for them, they didn't find any. So, of course, I resigned quickly, and that should have settled the issue, but it still carried on for quite a while. So I think what they do is I actually owned up to what I did. I think they probably thought there was more to come, but there wasn't. So I think this one's interesting because, you see, what's out there it's not good, is it? But it's not absolutely terrible either. And so, I mean, it will be for the individual really to come clean, I think so, eventually, and let the police sort it out. But, the trouble is so many people's reputations can be destroyed over perhaps what may be a real problem or what may not be. And I very rarely have sympathy for the BBC, but on this occasion, I probably have a little sympathy for them because, you only have to go back to the Cliff Richard's days and others where people were sort of hauled out. They were guilty until they could prove their innocence. And of course, they were actually innocent. So it is a real problem.
Yeah, it is. And I think you make an interesting point about the seriousness or otherwise of some of these allegations. And, OK, if it involves if it involves images of somebody who is not of legal age, then obviously that in itself is serious, if indeed is true. Of course it is. But I take your point. But I take your point completely when it comes to things like a threatening message or something along those lines. That is more of a cumulative effect, isn't it? And then when you mentioned an interesting point there, Neil, about when the press get a whiff of something, it opens the floodgates for them to just look for anything else. And I suspect that's what we're seeing here, and what we may well go on to see, which is things like, quotes unquote, creepy Instagram messages. I mean, I've got to admit that from what I have seen in these reported messages, I wouldn't have said that they were deeply seedy, right? But then you add it to the other things that we see before, and it gains this kind of momentum, doesn't it? So with you, they were digging around absolutely everything in your life, were they?
Well, yeah, I mean, my office said, Chris, one of my senior guys, said I could have made a fortune on you because, they were ringing up the office every 5 minutes to find out what I had on you. And, of course, he didn't actually have anything on me, but also they were very good office staff as well. So, but, they try, they were hanging around the farm for a second day, third day, a couple stayed for almost a fourth day. I think what on earth they were expecting to find, I don't know, but they didn't find it. So I think, this is a problem where I think, if you're not careful, it's sort of trial by media. And if the guy, if the individual, I'm not necessarily a guy or a woman, so I mustn't say anything like that. But like I said, whoever it is, I think, in the end, probably will have to make some sort of statement, because I don't think the press will be happy until they have named somebody. I
do think that you raise another interesting point there, and it's a similar point, actually, to what Harvey Proctor said to me about this time yesterday, which was that in his case as well, when he came forward and did a press conference, and when you resigned, obviously very different matters there, but when you resigned as well, fundamentally for both of you, there was nothing else that could have really come out. And I wonder whether or not this is part of the problem that we're seeing at the moment, with a lack of interaction, potentially, of course. Now, I was glued to the House of Commons earlier for what actually turned out to be yet another terrible instalment of Prime Minister's Question Time. I mean, I tend to do a feature on this show called We Are Being Run by Idiots, and actually I could just play you an hour of that, for goodness sake. But no MP used parliamentary privilege to name this individual. Where are you on that? I'm assuming you don't think they should.
I don't think they should, no, because I think it's for the individual to decide. I mean, if there is some real problem with victims here, then yes, you know, in the end, this must come out properly. If there isn't, then do you destroy somebody and their reputation and everything? For, I mean, some of this stuff in the Sun is a bit hearsay, isn't it, to say the very least? And so, therefore, I think, you know, I think the decision is for the individual. I think the problem that other BBC presenters have, of course, and is that they're going around, you know, saying, "Is it you? Is it you? Is it you?" And I think it is a real problem. But I think, you know, it is really down now to the individual, isn't it?
Just very quickly and finally, while I've got you, your mental health when all of this was blowing up around you, how was that?
It was very bad, actually, but I'm better now, and I'm getting on with life. And I've just done a series for Channel 4 called Banged Up, and when that goes out, you might see me in a slightly different light. But we will see. But no, seriously, it was bloody awful, putting it bluntly. But you get through it. But you know, when your whole political career, and I did have a good one, and I did work very hard. When it all blows up in 5 minutes, albeit your own fault, it is pretty nasty.